all of you here, so we get started. So welcome back, unfortunately, to Tribal Council, and get straight into it. So, Amir, you're pretty vocal about the whole incident with, I feel like, Brady's behavior. So I just want to know what was the reasoning behind voting Brady out? Does it have to do with that of tribe morale or anything like that? Because you can argue and say that she is a very strong challenge asset, but I guess you guys didn't really care. So do you value other things over just challenge performance? I mean, I'm assuming that's the case.
At the end of the day, Survivor isn't about challenge stats, because if that was the case, we would have seen it isn't about strength, because if that was the case, we would have seen Jonathan win our most recent season. Then we wouldn't be seeing the winners that we've had. The reason I wrote Brady's name down is because Brady's shady to me, and she's just not someone that I respect, not someone that I want to play a game with, and not someone that I thought was best for this tribe. The fact that she left, and then all the theatrics that she puts up when she gets voted out, and insulting people and damaging people's self-esteem, that's not okay. And I knew that was going to happen. So I would rather something like that happen earlier in the game, where it probably won't sting as much as if it were to then later in the game. I don't want someone with that kind of attitude on the jury when we need jury votes in order to win. If that makes sense. And I don't have any respect for her after yesterday. Attacking Jordan or coming at Jordan when he wasn't here to defend himself, saying the things that she said. That's not, I don't like that. And I'm not faulting anyone else for not saying anything or speaking up in the moment, but you don't just stand by or let someone just attack other people, especially I'm somebody who was bullied. A lot of that those self-esteem issues I brought into my adult life. You don't just stand by and watch someone attack someone else or just belittle someone else like that. So yeah, I'm glad she's going.
Okay, so Tim, Amir talked about Brady being shady. So there's one thing I think we should all talk about, which is trust. So how do you build trust? How do you decide whether or not you can trust somebody? Because this is All Stars. I think people are here to play. I think people are here to potentially, stab people in the back. Can you really absolutely trust somebody in this game?
I don't know. I think it depends. If you can find the right person at the right time, I do think you can form a bond that can get you to the end. But a lot of the time, you just have to find someone you can trust for this vote and then move forward. Just vote to vote. Just see who will get you to the next vote, basically.
All right. So Pittman, we saw with the last vote in the vote count, overall, it was a pretty unified vote. I think overall, yeah, the tribe came together and voted pretty close to consensus, unanimous vote. So do you think we're going to see that again tonight? Do you think the tribe is going to come together to be unified and close, maybe unanimously vote somebody out tonight?
I just think everyone's trying to get, we see the racetrack ahead of us, and then, the finish line's all at the end. I think everyone's just starting to lace up their shoes. So I think the votes are going to be pretty clean cut at least on our side. The other side, I mean, they swung big, apparently, the first tribal, and that's not necessarily something I'm looking to do this early in the game.
All right, so Micah, speaking of the last vote, you got one vote at the last tribal council. So do you think you're still on people's radar? Are you concerned at all? You think you could possibly be voted out tonight?
I think there's always a possibility to be voted out at any tribal unless you have immunity. I know where the one vote came from last night. I think we all do. It was a desperate situation for Brady, and she went for the only name that she was told other than her own. So I'm not too worried relative to how I was last night, but at the same time, with how distressed I was last night, and even that one vote, people might see that and take different perceptions of it. So I'm good now, but things can always change.
Okay, so again, we're going to keep referring to things from the last vote. So we saw one void being played. Victor, that's kind of a bold move, I think, to do this early on in the game, because if you do void, you lose your opportunity to use your shot in the dark, and you just never know what is going to happen in the future of this game. So I feel like somebody here feels comfortable, somebody here feels confident. Do you think that's a fair assessment to make?
Yeah, clearly, right? Somebody played their void. Nobody has owned up to it at all. So I mean, they know who they are. I'm not sure if anyone else knows who it is. I don't know who it was, but somebody felt safe, Isaiah. You should feel safe in Survivor, right?
That's right. I think so. I feel like you should never feel safe unless you have immunity, which you guys do not. So, Curtis, we saw with the first two boots, we saw Nick J and Brady go out. They both hold the record for the most immunity challenges won by a player in this franchise. So, arguably the best physical players. Now, we know, I mean, if you could see based on like your season, you won quite a few challenges yourself. So do you think you could possibly be on anybody's radar because of your challenge performance? Do you think people are trying to get some of the big challenge beast out? Because going to Ghost Island, you don't solely rely on a challenge to get back into the game. You have to survive some votes. And one may argue and say that it's very difficult for a challenge beast to survive Ghost Island because of their threat level being a conk beast.
Yeah, so I mean, I think you know we're still early in this game, and you look at all the people in this game. Like, I can't hide the fact that I'm good at challenges. Like, I mean, not all challenges, but I'm on the probably the upper tier player of challenges. Like, that's not, I can't hide that. You know, and that's fine. I think at this point, people should be relying on me to help them win. So we try to win immunity. I know kind of today sucked. Like, I couldn't even get off the cup on my foot. So like, I mean, that kind of sucked. Like, that was kind of my worst challenge I've ever had. But you know, I don't think this early that should be a target. I mean, there's so many good challenge players in this game, period, that immunities, like, especially if you get to emerge, like, immunities are going to be so hard to win because there's so many great players. So I don't think this season you should emphasize as much maybe on the challenge player. You know, I mean, you look at people like Nick J. Nick J has a ton of people in this game that he's really good friends with, and he's a great challenge player. So like I can almost see why maybe that happened. Brady's a good challenge player. Socially, I don't know. But I mean, at this point, I don't think a challenge player should be the one targeted. I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to say because we're all, I go back to what I said yesterday, we all have different agendas. So like my agenda is not the same as Jonah's or Pittman's or Micah's or anybody's. So like it's we all have our own agendas, and you know it's just whose agendas aren't going to line up at what time and what what tribal. So I think that's a lot of what it's coming down to each night. I don't know if it's particularly target. I think it's what do we do tonight to get myself to the next day? Do we anticipate a swap? Who do we maybe want there? Who do we maybe not want there? You know, there's a lot of facets to this, and we're only at 20 people. So like this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. So you have to keep that in mind when you're voting too.
All right, so I'm actually glad that you brought up the point of there being a possible swap. So Jeffrey, I feel like I've heard some rumblings. We just heard from Curtis that some people may be speculating about a possible swap coming soon. So do you think the thought of there being a potential swap can affect how people vote tonight?
Absolutely, because I guess people like I speculate that we're gonna swap in the 3 tribes of 6, whether that's one with exile or whether that's like just plain and cut. So I guess it's kind of right now of like when you swap, who do you want to like see and who do you not trust in the tribe to be on the swap tribe of yours and whatnot, and I guess like work towards that when you're on your original tribe.
All right, so Jonah, I'm actually going to go back a little bit and talk about, I guess, the new extension to the Void of Fate, the Shot in the Dark. There's an argument to be made that voting people out and blindsiding people is going to need to be a lot more difficult because of the Shot in the Dark. I feel like with the online Survivor game, people typically know, I think most of the time, that they're going home. So do you possibly plan around that? Do you think people plan around that? Because if you just go for an easy unanimous vote, somebody plays the Shot in the Dark, it's a completely new target, completely new revote if they land on safe.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to blindside someone really all the time. I think it's obviously easier to make it easy to vote somebody out. And the Shot in the Dark, yeah, it does complicate things because if somebody feels like they're going to go home and they actually are the one that's going to go home, then they can use it, and it's 1 in 6 chance that you go home. But I mean, I'm just thinking about it like that's 1 in 6 isn't great odds. So it's not as scary as maybe people seem, but I make it seem. But I think that it's maybe more in like it's more valuable to blindside someone knowing that everybody has a shot in the dark that they can play. So I think that the Shot in the Dark, the good part about it is that it encourages blindsides. I think that makes Survivor more interesting, I guess you could say. And I think that it complicates the game in a big way.
All right, that is all I have for tribal questioning. If there's anything else that needs to be said before we head into the vote, any conversations in a breakout room, anything at all here, now is the time for you guys to say whatever you have to say. If not, we'll go into the vote. Okay, I'm not hearing anything, so you guys already know the drill. If you want to sacrifice your vote tonight to earn a possible advantage, DM me the word void instead of a name. If you want to play your shot in the dark, sacrificing your vote for 1 in 6 shot at being safe in this game, DM me shot in the dark. And when I call your name, make your decision with what you want to do and send the name of the person you want to vote out directly on Survivor Conquest, directly to Survivor Conquest on Instagram DMs. All right, Micah, you're up first. Pittman, you're up. Tim, you're up. Amir, you're up next. Jonah, you're up next. Victor, you're up. Curtis, you're up. Jeffrey, you're up. All right, Grace, if you're there, finish us off. Okay, you guys, I've received all the votes and I'm going to read them right now. All right, if anybody has a hidden immunity idol and you'd like to play it, now would be the time to do so. Okay, I'm hearing nothing, so you guys already know the drill. Once I'm done reading the votes, the decision is final. The person voted out will have a few moments to give their final words and then must leave the Zoom call immediately. I will read the votes. First vote, Jonah. Pittman, that's 1 vote Jonah, 1 vote Pittman. Void. Grace, that's 1 vote Grace, 1 vote Jonah, 1 vote Pittman. Pittman, that's 2 votes Pittman, 1 vote Jonah, 1 vote Grace. Pittman, that's 3 votes Pittman, 1 vote Jonah, 1 vote Grace. Pittman, that's 4 votes Pittman, 1 vote Jonah, 1 vote Grace. Third person voted out was Survivor Conquest All-Stars. Pittman, 5, that's enough. You have to bring me a torch. The tribe has spoken. If you'd like to say anything before you head out, now's your time to do it.
Well, nothing to say. Good game. I'll be back.
All right. Congratulations, you guys, surviving another tribal council. Unfortunately, you guys are kind of on a little losing streak, sort of, not really. But we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Oh, screw you, Isaiah.
All right, that's all I have for you guys. So you guys are free to go, stick around, do whatever you like.
Not gonna, invite other people back in the call. None of that.
So no swap?
Mm-mm.
No swap? Okay. Or maybe, all right.
We got one more vote, and then a
Yeah,
swap.
one more. Yeah.
Probably.
So what was the vote
Shit.
count? They were all on Pittman and
Yeah,
One
like
Jonah, one
Jonah,
Grace.
Jonah
One
got a
Jonah,
vote.
one Grace.
and a void.
Another void.
And a void.
Another
Yeah.
void.
Wait,
So a 7, 1, 1 void.
okay.
Huh.
Okay.
Well,
So who voted for did Pittman
Voted
vote for
Jonah.
Who voted for Jonah?
Who the hell voted for me?
maybe Pittman. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe Pittman.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
then who voted for Grace?
who voted for Grace? Yeah.
Jordan, because he only got the beginning of the plans.
What?
To be fair, like, if someone just immediately texted him, like, people aren't throwing out names, this is all they're willing to say, then, like, you'd just be like, fine, pre-vote, and then
I don't know. I mean, I saw
go
him
to
active.
bed.
I didn't see him active after the challenge. So I don't-
I mean, I guess that's possible.
Could have been the void, too.
Oh well, whatever. It's all gets over now. No worries. Moving on.
All right. I think you can stop recording, Isaiah. We can get-
Oh, sorry. I always forget.